Breaking news, everybody. SNAP payments are being delayed in select states across the country. Millions of low-income Americans are expected to be cut from the program, and with inflation still affecting many people in states like New Jersey, they're passing a bill to prevent people from losing their benefits. Now, SNAP is the nation's most important anti-hunger program. It is providing essential food purchasing assistance for the low income. And according to the budget and policy priorities, SNAP helped an average of 41 million Americans, all in 2021. But now some states are failing to pay recipients on time, while others may even be at risk of losing their checks. Because according to state public records, Georgia has failed to pay thousands of SNAP recipients, and approximately 60% or 46,000 applications were delayed in May. On the Facebook page from the state, it says the Department of Human Services, which oversees the program, is that one SNAP recipient said they applied to renew benefits nearly 2 months ago, and they haven't received any benefits since March. Obviously, there is a problem with this. Applications for SNAP benefits are supposed to be processed within a month, and even a spokesperson from the department said that they are currently working on this as quickly as possible. But they're having problems by being hampered by federal rules and requirements, which prevent them from streamlining the process. But still, there is no excuse. People need their money. SNAP recipients nationwide are at risk of losing their benefits by 2025 under the bill. Joe Biden has signed a bill into law to suspend the debt limit, but also change the work requirements for older adults. The new agreement will now expand work requirements for adults 50 to 54 years old, and currently SNAP dictates that adults 18 to 49 can only receive checks for 3 months out of every 3 years, unless they work at least 20 hours a week. Experts have said this puts 750,000 older adults ages 50 to 54 at risk of losing food assistance. Veterans and kids aiding out of foster care and homelessness are exempt from this new changes. These changes are expected to be in place until 2030, and there are new exemptions to the rule. Experts have said that SNAP governments in charge of administering SNAP can waive the work requirements for areas with high levels of unemployment. SNAP departments in Pennsylvania, for instance, New Jersey have already planned to apply for new waivers depending on what the USDA will allow. But the end of the public health emergency on May 11th has created several changes for Medicare beneficiaries. Whether Medicare will or will not cover a certain healthcare cost may now depend on whether you are in traditional Medicare or a private insurer of the Advantage plan. Now, the former president administration declared a public health emergency in January of 2020, but this May it has decided to end it. During the public health emergency, Medicare plans were not allowed to change or move members out of network officiants. But those protections have ended, and people will once again either have to pay more or not have coverage depending on their Medicare Advantage plan. And the good news is that Medicare beneficiaries receiving telehealth will be able to do so through at least December 31st, 2024. Telehealth is largely unaffected by the end of the public health emergency because of a 2023 law extending the telehealth coverage until next year. But the lawmakers in the Congress have discussed this and are planning to cut Social Security and Medicare. Americans are not happy with that, and few Americans would be okay with that, some politicians having suggested to shore up the programs. 80% say they oppose reducing the size of Social Security benefits, and 67% are raising against the monthly premiums for Medicare. What do you think is going to happen now, folks? Will Joe Biden get the job done in time for the fourth stimulus checks? I believe there is a chance that he can do it, folks, and he definitely should be sending out the stimulus payments by 2021.
There you go, Mr. Secretary. Let me begin by saying I know there are millions of Americans in this country who feel disappointed and discouraged or even a little bit angry about the court's decision today on student debt. And I must admit I do too. Before I tell you the steps we're going to take and want to talk about I want to talk about what we've been able to achieve so far on student loan over the past few years. First, we made the largest increase in Pell Grants in over a decade, helping students from families who nearly all make less than $60,000 a year. Then we fixed the so-called, with the help of the department,
power of the law to translate the passion from the streets to the courtrooms of our country, to do the work that is about reminding us of the promise of America, which includes the promise of freedom and equality, and I would add also access to.
Now, Congress is planning to make big changes starting in just a few weeks. The low-income households could be set to qualify for a new type of relief. If you're struggling to pay necessities for rent, you may be eligible to receive a bonus check worth up to $500. And now 20 states have already failed to raise the minimum wage above the federal $7.25 an hour standard. 16, everybody, have more than 12% of their children living in poverty. And anti-poverty advocates say that it's a sign there's an urgent need for lawmakers to increase the funding and do more to help struggling families. Congress had the opportunity to achieve the latter by expanding the child tax credit before the end of the year, but lawmakers just didn't arrive at a deal with Republicans to include it in a spending bill. Some say that raising the minimum wage would not lead to as fast or drastic of an improvement. However, according to analysis in 2019, increasing the amount to $15 an hour would lift more than 500,000 people out of poverty, and the Economic Policy Institute estimated in 2021 that if Congress passed a $15 minimum wage increase by 2025, up to 4 million people wouldn't even have to live in poverty. 1.3 million of those being children. But there are lawmakers in Congress that want to continue to send families monetary relief checks. So far, Congressman Adam Schiff has sent a letter, and he's urging the House to extend the expanded child tax credit as soon as possible. The child tax credit monthly payments are used by millions of families in California and across the country to pay for necessities including food, rent, and educational expenses. This American Rescue Plan has actually critically expanded its reach and benefits, folks, increasing monthly checks and the number of eligible recipients by removing an earnings requirement that kept the lowest income families from claiming the full credit. But so far, between July and December, child poverty was slashed by nearly 40% to reach a record low of 5.2, and now 3 million people were lifted out of poverty in a single month. But Congress has put nearly 10 million children nationwide at risk of falling deeper and deeper into poverty, as they did not pass a bill to continue this expansion. But as House Democrats put forward the biggest legislative priorities over the next 4 weeks, Adam Schiff is urging that an extension of the child tax credit is included to any year-end package. The expanded child tax credit provided a lifeline to more than 65.6 million children nationwide and nearly 8 million people in California, folks. So far, everybody. According to data from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, since the expansion expired, an estimated 20 million children nationwide have been unable to claim the full payment. And then we have another thing to talk about, folks. It's a Democratic lawmakers introducing the new bill to increase the state child tax credit for working families. This is done in efforts to address rising levels of poverty in the city and states of New York. And this is pretty good because it now means that stimulus payments could be sending out more and be sent out now in 2022 and 2024 and even in 2025. A bill to create the New York State Working Families Credit would actually increase the state child tax credit program to the $1,500 per child from $500 and expand eligibility to children under age 4 and families making some pretty no money. Families actually would pay quarterly, and since single taxpayers make an adjusted gross income of $25,000 or less, or couples making $50,000 or less who file joint return, they would be eligible for the benefit. The State Department of Taxation and Finance would assess a family's eligibility for the credit through income filings from their annual tax return. The West also started in 2023 yet again as one of the few wealthy nations without any national paid family leave or paid sick leave program. Folks, this is bad.